And good afternoon. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, but we got to open this thing up and let it breathe a little bit while we bring in our Facebook communities because, well, our Facebook communities want to be here too to celebrate a victory Monday over the 49ers. As ugly as it might have been, never apologize for a dub, right, Zack?
Right. Never, ever.
So welcome in, everybody. This is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I got that right. Yeah. Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm Scott Kennedy, your guest host today, in for Chad Jensen, who is still on the road heading back from Denver. And this is Zack Kelberman, who has been in transit and has had the trials and tribulations of the travel that goes with it. But we had a blast in Denver, didn't we, Zack?
Yeah, it was nice meeting you, Scott, finally, and hanging out with everyone. And the turnout was better than I expected, and we had so much fun yesterday getting ready for what I thought was going to be a Broncos upset win. And you can tell right now I don't have much of a voice left. All the trash I was talking to 49ers fans that crossed my path, they were pumping their chest out, and they were flexing, and they were trying to clown on the Broncos with all their memorabilia, all the regalia on before the game, Scott, walking down the streets of Denver. Funny. I walked last night around Denver after the game. No Niners. I mean, and the same people who were wearing them, they took them off in private, and put a shirt on, or they took their hat off. It's amazing that how quiet they were. And each and every single person I passed, whether it was in a carriage, whether they were walking, whether they were looking at me or not, I said, "But y'all lost, though. Y'all lost the game." It was a lot of fun. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was a good time. There was a lot of red there. I'll be surprised. That was my first game. That was my first game at the stadium, and I gave my gut reaction a little bit last night in the wee hours of the morning for me at the end of a 20-hour day. So apologies if I wasn't completely coherent. You might not be able to tell anyway, Scott. You're never coherent. But I want to kick this back to you with the question Zack is asked almost every single Sunday. What was your gut reaction to this win?
A win is a win is a win. And you're right, Scott. You never apologize for them. It's so hard to win in this business. And it was ugly on offense for both teams. It was a defensive struggle fest like a lot of people, including myself, predicted it would be. But the Broncos defense came up clutch. Ejiro Evero for president. That's what I firmly believe. What he's done with this defense that's missing Justin Simmons, that missed PS2 last week, they get it done in the clutch. And for the first time since Wade Phillips, they're forcing turnovers and taking matters into their own hands. I could not be more impressed with what Ejiro Evero has done. On offense, it was a lot like the Texans game to me, where it was struggle for 3.5 quarters, but you saw why. Even in brief moments, the Broncos made that trade for Russell Wilson, why they paid him $250 million, the back shoulder to Cortland, getting them down to the red zone, and Melvin Gordon not fumbling when he actually hit pay dirt to get the Broncos in the lead, and a lead they would not relinquish. So I was very impressed by the defense. Offense has some work to do, but I thought Hackett looked a little more composed, Scott, a little more like an NFL head coach and not like an incompetent boob. Love that expression.
It's a low bar. It's a low bar we had set there with incompetent boob. So that was a low bar, but oh man, I've tried to, try and play the other side of the Melvin Gordon thing. It's like, well, he's his contract. Cause I didn't come into this with, well, I didn't like him as a San Diego Charger. I didn't care about him as a San Diego Charger. So that didn't really matter to me. And the contract, I'm like, well, there's money available. His contract isn't preventing you. Okay, the fumbles. Okay, I can apologize away, reaching away and getting one knocked out on 4th down.
It's every time he touches the ball.
This one was twice. And frankly, as he was laying there, like scooping it up, he fumbled again on the ground. They called it dead. I was like, that was 2 fumbles on the same play. I'm like, okay, you know what? I've had enough. It's too scary because I'm with you. You're holding your breath every time he runs the ball. And it's that is not a good feeling. Just, when you've got a quarterback that every time he drops back to throw, you're just like, please don't be an interception. Please don't be an interception. That's not a good feeling. So I'm with you on this one. My gut reaction on this, and I'll try and keep this short since I just went off on Melvin Gordon, was a little bit of the defense. Like you said, going in, we talked about the aggressiveness of the defense. Would they be more aggressive? We had several questions. Will they be more aggressive? We thought they would be. Can they get more takeaways? We thought they should. Would they give up more big plays? I thought they would. They haven't. Can they get a big stop when they need it? And can they actually win a game for you instead of just playing not to lose? Yes, 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 yes. This defense will keep you in every single game while the offense gets things figured out. That's going to be a lot of fun. My gut reaction to this game was an ugly game, yet still incredibly entertaining. It was bad football. It was really good defense. It wasn't just all bad offense, but there was some bad offense in there too. But it was incredibly entertaining, and I had a blast with the game. And thanks to Dale for the ticket, for setting me up and having me go. Means a lot to me. I had a blast.
I can't show y'all, but I'm actually sitting on a donut right now. The amount of times I have to clench watching Melvin Gordon touch the football is embarrassing, Scott. It's every single time. And more people are catching on. It's not me hating him. I know the whole Merlot thing is kind of played out by this point, but it's not me imagining it. You cannot trust him with the ball in his hands. And last I checked, as a running back, that's his sole responsibility, and his sole job is not to cough up the football. But he didn't when it counted the most, and the Broncos eked out an ugly win. But you know what, Scott? Good teams win the ugly games. Playoff teams win the ugly games. Ask the Bills that. Ask the Kansas City Chiefs that.
At the end of the season, they don't ask you how, they ask you how many. And it doesn't matter. An ugly win is better than a pretty loss in there every time. But, I right when I was titling this, we're used to hearing let's ride. I was like, man, that was ugly. That was an ugly win. I'm like, all right, well, we're riding dirty then. That's all right. We're riding dirty, but get the W. I'm okay with that. I'd play the music for it if that's how I wanted to intro the show. If
dirty.
If they wouldn't flag us, the YouTube guys. But who's riding dirty with us tonight is Sam Bam coming in. Says, good evening, Zack and Scott. I'm still in shock that the Broncos pulled out that win last night. Credit to Hackett and the Broncos for getting an ugly win over a tough 49ers team. Just got to get the O going now. Go Broncos. This is a good team. I picked the 49ers to win this game because I didn't quite believe in them. I'm a believer now. The defense can win you games. I was afraid of what that 49ers defensive line was going to do to the offensive line. Those fears were correct. Those were proved to be true. That the offensive line was bullied in the trenches pretty much most of the game. But the defense, and considering you're rotating guys in there, and that's what's amazing, Zach, is the defensive rotation. This is Josie Jewell's first game. He looked like a Pro Bowler out there. No more Josie Jewell hate. This dude can play ball. He is an important part of this defense.
Except when he's matched up on Deebo Samuel one-on-one, but that's more of Kyle Shanahan scheming that open. But Jewell, I'm not a big Jewell fan. I don't think you were either, Scott, but he played, like you said, really good ball yesterday. The entire defense really batted down, and you saw the presence of PS2 out there holding things down in the secondary. You can imagine when Simmons comes back what this defense is capable of, but once the offense clicks, this is definitely a playoff team. Based on a 3-week sample size, the defense is back to the Wade Phillips days where I think you put it best, Scott, they can win because of them, not in spite of them or as an afterthought.
Yeah, last year it felt like the offense you played not to lose, the defense you played not to lose. Well, who's playing to win? Who was out there playing to win last year? This year, everybody's playing to win. It might not hit on all cylinders all the time, but you've got enough strength on that defense to keep you in a game. And then I said it last night, this is why you brought Russell Wilson in. And the word I couldn't think of last night because it was the end of a 20-hour day was improvise. His ability to improvise on a broken play it needs to be a benefit. It needs to be a bonus, not the basis of an offense. A broken play is no basis of an offense. It's not sustainable. But in a 2-minute drill, which is one of the reasons I said, hey, let's do some hurry up. Let's go some hurry up, some shotgun, some 4-wide stuff, which they did come out with yesterday. It wasn't effective, but they did come out with that. That's it's nice to have that in his locker where he can go to that and he can improvise when he needs to. I still can't say it right. It's been a long weekend, man. It's like, wait a minute. What do you mean I was in Denver this time last night watching the Broncos? That's just crazy. It's just 24 hours ago.
Don't worry, dynamism. That's my trip up word. So we all have one. We all get one. I know what I wanted to say earlier about the offense and not just the defense. I've had enough of Cameron Fleming, and I know it's a tough assignment going up against Bosa and that defensive line, but he's getting cooked each and every game. I don't know what's going on with Billy Turner, but he really needs to get in the starting lineup. I don't know what the coaches see in Cam Fleming. Who's
this Billy Turner we keep hearing about? I'm telling you, it's Billy Loch Ness Turner. I'm not the Sasquatch or the abominable snowman. The second cousin to Peter the Rabbit. I don't think this guy actually exists. So, he's been like full. We're going to give it a try and do this the right way. I've been hearing that since the second week of August.
Yeah.
We're knocking on the door of September. I'm going to go as Billy Turner for Halloween. And it'll be the first sighting we've seen of him. So, I'm kidding to a certain extent, but the offensive line was bullied yesterday. No two ways about it. But then again, we talk about the unit. The unit's supposed to be as strong as its weakest link. Well, you've got your fourth guy in at right tackle, and you've got your backup in at right guard. Let's see this unit when it's where it needs to be. I still don't think it's Cushenberry. I still don't think it's Reisner, but at least maybe you can have those two guys team up to be one player instead of having Glasgow, who's mobility challenged on one side, and Reisner, who is strength challenged on the other, and Cushenberry, who's getting driven straight backwards anytime someone bows up on him. That, I want to see all of the guys in there, because this time, Zack, I said in the first game, why are you running behind those guys? You got your backup right guard and your fourth right tackle in there. Why do we keep running right? The touchdown was left, and Garrett Bowles, for all the struggles he had yesterday, and they weren't all his fault. We can get into that a little bit too. He buried. I'm talking buried his man on those two straight plays in the red zone.
Yeah, every offensive lineman gets called for a holding every now and then. And I know it's held against, no pun intended, Garrett Bowles because of his past, but, as long as he's not being Cameron Fleming out there, allowing sacks and getting abused each and every game, for the most part, Garrett Bowles holds his own. But I want to see, Billy Manti Turner, Chad, excuse me. I know it's going to happen at least one time, just force a habit, Scott. We haven't seen him. I think Loch Ness Turner is the best way to put it. He's a figment of our imagination until proven otherwise. And I see a comment in there by Chase Wellner, which I fully echo here. Get well soon, Quinn Miners and Tom Compton, because boy, do they need the reinforcement.
Yeah, just watching Bowles, he was going to be credited with some of those sacks. He had a tough night. Some of that's on Russell Wilson. There was two of them where I was like, okay, 5-step drop, 1, 2, that ball's got to be out. That's as long as you have. You got your 5-step set, 1, 2, throw or go. And that's when the sacks were given up. That one's not on Bowles. Those two weren't on Bowles. Yeah, he gets beat, but he did his job in those circumstances. So it wasn't all on Bowles. He was getting some shtick from the fans last night that I was sitting around, and I didn't make him feel any better by saying, well, do you know he's the highest offensive, cap hit in the entire league for offensive linemen? Isn't that crazy? That's part of the problem, Zach. Jay Valentine coming in. He says, not going to lie, nervous about the Raiders game next week. They'll be desperate for a dub, but hey, we should be too. Hope Turner's back next week for Max Crosby. Turner. There it is again. Turner.
Yeah, I hope
and
so
if he is
too.
back, is he going to hit the ground running like Josie Jewell
Right.
did? Or is he going to need a little bit of time to get up to speed? That's the question. We're making these thoughts like this Billy Turner is going to fix everything. Well, he was never the answer as far as a plug and play. Oh, we signed a guy. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. Once he's back, we're good. He was always a question. And that was when he was healthy. So I'm not sold that the right tackle position gets solved with Billy Turner healthy or not.
Yeah, that's been my thing about him. The Broncos got rid of him for the first time for a reason. He's always been kind of a swing tackle, very high-end backup to me, but we're relying on Billy Turner to be like the all-knowing, all-developing answer at right tackle. I'm just so sick of the Broncos ignoring that position and trying to put Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid on it. I hope he can come back healthy, but I think that knee was way worse than they ever let on.
Well, and just taking a look at this game, I went ahead and looked ahead. I was like, I wonder what Vegas thinks of this. No pun intended, but like Vegas is just the word for like the lines. What are the lines in this game? And Vegas so far doesn't think too much of the Broncos win, and 2-1 versus 0-3. The Raiders are a 2-point favorite right now, which was a little surprising. What might have been a little more surprising to me was an over/under of 44 points. It seems a little high right now. So you got to ask going into next week, Russell Wilson and Denver Broncos or Carr and the Raiders. It's going to be a show of young guns and old guard, and nothing makes these mashups more exciting than having skin in the game at MyBookie. MyBookie has super contests, survival pools, double deposit bonus that gives you everything you need to secure the bag. Getting started is simple. Sign up today. Use promo code Wilson22, and you'll double your first deposit instantly. That's promo code Wilson22 to double your deposit up to $1,000 with MyBookie.
Yeah, guys, this is not your grandfather's bookie. This is my bookie. So put your money where your mouth is and get rewarded for it. Begin your winning season today, exclusively at my bookie. And I think, Scott, 44 might be a little presumptuous for the Broncos. They can't get over 16 or 17 points. 11 yesterday. The offense is still struggling. I look for the defense to contain Derek Carr for the most part, but is the offense going to rise up? That remains the question.
Yeah, and again, some of the macro problems we're talking about, macro problems are big, like killing you problems. Were penalties, the play going in, and for me right now, it's the offensive line. So the plays going in, the efficiency on offense fixed. It was fine yesterday. Play clock runs down a couple times a game. That's normal. The penalties were cut down to 5. That's really good. And a couple of them, a couple calls went against the couple replay challenges. Hackett's 0 for 2. He starts on that. I would have challenged both of those too, Zach. That went in. And in fact, I thought the Broncos should have had them both also. And Phil coming in says, good evening, Zack and Scott. Scared the heck out of me when Russ handed the ball to Gordon at the goal line. Yeah, I get it. I get it now too. I'm with you on this. So as the game wore on, it seemed they trusted Javonte after he fumbled, after he put the ball down at the 3 in the third quarter, going left to right on my view. I was like, he's done. That's it. I wouldn't put him back in. Hell, not only did he put him back in, he like got the crucial touches in the fourth quarter. That was a little surprising to me, Zach.
Y'all can see clearly now. The rain is gone. I'm not going to sing much more because I'm terrible at it. I'll stick to my day job. But Melvin Gordon, that's the thing. You just can't trust him. And you need a running back behind Javonte you can trust and to be that dependable backup. Mike Boone dropped the pass as well. So I kind of miss Curtis Modkins, the former running backs coach. I don't know what Tyrone Wheatley's doing over there with the running backs, but they have some mad butterfingers going on at times.
It says, hey, Zach and Scott, about Gordon, it's scary, but the rotation of running back is huge. Full series for each back. And yeah, this was the most we saw Mike Boone. Mike Boone was damn good on special teams on that gunner. And, speaking of game balls, unsung heroes out there, how about 10 punts, 6 inside the 20 with a 47.6 average for Corliss Waitman?
Yes.
Fantastic. He was fantastic. I was curious. I'm like, I went and checked on PFS grades, and we can talk about this. And Nick and I will talk about it more in the morning too. It's like, I wonder what you give a punter that has a day like that. It was like 60. Okay, you guys just aren't watching special teams then. Okay, that's fine. But because that was a 10. Give him a 10. That was a 10. So Corliss Waitman was an unsung hero. Hell, he may have been sung. I don't know what the announcers were saying or what what the local beat writers and stuff were saying, but Corliss Waitman was a big time part of that win.
I think NBC gave the game ball to Russ. Obviously he's the quarterback, but you could have made the case that Corliss Waitman was the game's MVP. A defensive struggle, a field position type game, and he pinned him back, and he really improved from a rough couple of weeks. And what I love about this side of the ball, it hasn't been perfect, but Montreal Washington slipped up in week 1. Dwayne Stukes said, I've had a conversation with Montreal. It's been addressed. The next week, Montreal looked a lot better. Dwayne Stukes was not happy with Corliss Waitman the first couple of weeks. He said, I've had a conversation with Corliss Waitman. That's been addressed. And look what happens. He gets things done. I really, really like this coaching staff, Scott. 2-1 record aside.
Yeah, that's again, they're a little more open about things. They're not as, how dare you question me type of attitude. It's we don't expect people to be perfect. People, say, oh, I guess you know more than the code. No, we're second guessing. They second guess themselves. I promise you that. That's we're trying to be fair about things, but yeah, a second guess. They're never 100% sure about things. Why can't we second guess things? But I've said that this is an easy staff to really like and root for and hope that they succeed. EJ coming in. EJ,
wow. Thank you.
You were awesome for us this week. I know we missed you this weekend, and we'll do this again and catch up because you were a big help for us even when you weren't there, because that's how you've been for this show for the past several months, just a big part of it. So thank you so much coming in hot, Pink. says, because you guys are keeping it real and making it fun at the same time. Zach, that's a hell of a compliment.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Keeping it real and making it fun. Put that in a t-shirt.
That's my goal. That's my goal every show. So thank you. That's a hell of a compliment. We certainly appreciate you, EJ.
I want to give a shout out real quick. We had a conversation yesterday on the subject of Jeremy Shawn. Yeah, we talked about Melvin Gordon as well, and he said if Melvin Gordon goes off because he was I don't know if it is, but he was a Melvin Gordon supporter. And I told him, not everyone's going to agree with me or Chad or Scott or anyone, but we're all going to give our opinion and tell it to you like it is. We're not going to sugarcoat things.
We're going to call it like we see it. Maybe not optimistic, tell it like it is, but we'll call it like we see it. Be
right down the middle. And people like EJ appreciate that, and we appreciate you, EJ. Thank you.
Jonathan Figueroa coming in yellow. He says, watch out when this offense gets up to speed. Best defense in the NFL. Jewel is a beast. I underrated him big time. Penalties and time management fixed for now. Special teams look the best in years. Let's ride. The coverage units. I mean, it started on the first kickoff. I'm amazed how far McManus can take 2 steps. I mean, it's like a golfer taking half a backswing and then driving at 300 yards. I'm like, how are you doing that? He's hitting it to the goal line. But you couldn't have placed it in that corner, a coffin corner kickoff, any better than they did on a directional kick. And their returner tries to come across the field and he gets hit at the 8-yard line. And, as I'm wondering, because, again, the gut reaction is so much different. When I came out of that game, I was like, oh, my God, this offensive line is atrocious. And before we came on the show, I watched it again. I'm like, okay, a little bit of an overreaction for sure. There's some other things, some good things that were going on that you can see on the second viewing. But my point is as I'm watching this game and thinking about it, is part of the defensive domination of this game have to do with the field position and special teams all the time. I mean, it seemed like this average starting field position was the 7 for both teams. The problem was when there was a turnover and you go 3 and out, or you do get out from the shadow of your own goalposts and you take 2 sacks back to your own 45 instead of getting field goal range. There was some ugly in there, but my goodness, the special teams were good.
Yeah, it wasn't all perfect. Obviously, the offense has a lot to work on still, but what I like is the coaching staff, Nathaniel Hackett specifically, is showing improvement. They're not staying in neutral. They're not going backward. They're not regressing. They're progressing. And they didn't, lose this game, or they didn't win despite Hackett and his coaching foibles like the first couple weeks. They didn't have a special teams meltdown where they didn't have a punt returner back there. Russell Wilson got the playoff a lot faster most of the time. The home crowd, to my knowledge, Scott, in my ears, was not counting down the play clock too often like last week as well. So you want to see the improvements early on from a young staff. And it was always going to take more than a few games. But the fact that they are getting better, the fact that Hackett took every resource available to him, including hiring an assistant coach, advisor, consultant, whatever, is really encouraging compared to years past.
Michaela Parker coming here. It was so good to meet you yesterday, Michaela. Yes. Get to meet you in person, and thank you for everything you do for us like this. She says, hiya, fellas. It was a treat seeing you both yesterday, as to you as well. Gordon is a liability. What an atmosphere, much love. And I'm with you on this. Like, he's a good running back, but what good is it if you can't hold on to the ball? That's job one. Yeah, you run the ball well, you catch the ball well, but so what? If you're fumbling, twice, putting the ball on the turf, it's as often as you seem to be doing right now. I mean, what's that? His 4th fumble this year already?
Feels like 40.
I know it's been a lot. 4 is is a lot.
For 3 games.
The atmosphere, it was unbelievable. Yeah, the Broncos fans got on the offense. You let them have it. Let them know you weren't upset. But when they needed you, you literally stood up and the place shook. It shook. That was cool. I've been in some high school stadiums where that's not so cool, because I'm like, wait a minute, this place is about to go down. But this one, it shook. And it was absolutely spectacular. So, yeah, you voiced your displeasure when they were displeasing. But when your team needed you, you stood up, take a bow, Broncos country. You played well. You showed up big time.
You're the 12th man. Take that, Seattle. Michaela, you are spectacular as well, and she's such a popular figure in the community. Everyone was kind of rallying around Michaela yesterday, and we had Michaelaception. We had 2 Michaelas taking a selfie yesterday, so a lot of fun at the meet and greet. Had a load of of fun with you, a blast, and I can't wait to do it again. Thank you, Michaela.
Boise man comes in and he's coming in green with a super. He says, I don't understand the Gordon love from the coaches. I'd bench him in Madden, let alone a real game. Someday I'll make a meet and greet. Look forward to seeing you there, Boise. I bench him in Madden. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. The first big play that the Broncos had was, again, coming left to right. I think it was the last play of the first quarter. And they're on their own 5 or so, and Russell Wilson was able to get some time and hit a nice long crossing route to Cortland Sutton for about 45 yards. Melvin Gordon picked up a block spectacularly on the blitz. It was terrific. So do I trust him a little bit more to be in there to protect my quarterback? Yeah. Do I trust him to be in there and protect the ball? No. Okay, so that's not a trade-off I'm probably comfortable with right now. But again, he's better in the passing game right now than Javonte Williams, and that's why he's in there. And he was getting more snaps in the fourth quarter than Javonte.
This is your daily reminder that Philip Lindsay never fumbled the ball one time in his career. So say what you want about him, but he was reliable, and that's the number one thing I want for my RB2. So tough break for Melvin, but at least he was the hero in the end, Scott, not the goat. The bad goat.
Well, again, he ran hard down to the 1, but rewatch those plays, and you'll see Garrett Bowles taking out some frustration in that game on that poor edge. I mean, we're talking WWE power bombs going in as he's knocking guys over the pile. It was
jackknives.
He was a little mad on those. So I felt good for him. Andrew Baker says up, Zack, Scott, and fam. That's all y'all. Jealousy missed y'all, but a win is a win, and glad for that. MHH for life. Appreciate you, Andrew, coming in like that. Trying to catch up on some of these. Zack, unsung heroes. I gave one for me. Like I said, it may have been sung. I don't pay attention to the other, 50 Denver beats out there to know that, yeah, everybody's talking about Corliss Waitman, Scott. What's the big deal? You're not special. For me, he's a guy that you don't come into a game thinking of, this could be one of your players of the game. So to me, that's an unsung hero, Corliss Waitman. Give me one of yours, Zack.
Honestly, a guy that's been an unsung hero for 3 weeks now is K'Wan Williams, the Broncos nickel cornerback. He's so solid in coverage. You never hear his name except when he's breaking up a pass. He reminds me a lot of the guy he replaced in Bryce Callahan. And the thing with K'Wan is he was always good like Callahan when he was healthy, but he was so injured so often. But he's been on point for the Broncos, and he had a couple big PBUs in yesterday's game.
That's a good shout, Zack. I've got him in my notes, and it wasn't for his pass play. It was actually for his run defense. So he's not afraid to go in there and throw his nose in there and seal an edge. There was times where he was almost the walk-up edge playing in the slot, and they rotated a guy over, or where they only had 4 down, and he was playing, in essence, an edge position out of that slot corner position, and he was holding the edge and did a really, really good job against the run. That takes balls when you're a 180-pound cornerback out there getting in there with the big eaters. So props to him. Good shout on him. And props to our, I hate saying other Michaela because that sounds like, oh, you're the other Michaela. But, the Duchess was a Duchess. So that Michaela Israel has came in. It was great to meet you two yesterday as well. Michaela has become a big part of this community over the last couple of months as well. Coming in green. Just thank you guys for doing the meet and greet and being kind. We're not that kind. It was good to see the defense shut down a good team. They are legit and good. Yeah. I had talked up Garoppolo a little bit coming in as far as being, making this a better team in the short term. The guy's got like a 33 and now 11 record as a starter. The dude wins games. He didn't play very well. And part of that was he was under a lot of pressure. And when he wasn't being pressured, he was being hemmed in. You were not allowed to improvise. We're going to hold you right here, and you're going to have to make reads and make throws. Let's see if you can do it. Yesterday, he couldn't. He couldn't do it.
Yeah, as I was saying all week about Garoppolo, if you pressure him into a mistake, it's going to happen. And for him to go out the back of the end zone, bad break for the Broncos would have been a pick 6 if he didn't step out. So, the Broncos would have. It's one of those plays that the Broncos can't get this year.
It felt like it was a pick 6. At the stadium, you can't see that all the way down. they got it right away on the broadcast. But when you're at the stadium, I was like, I could see it coming a mile away. I'm like, grab it. He's juggling it. That's 6.
I was just never scared of Jimmy G as a starter, though, when the Broncos just rattled him all night. And that Bradley Chubb sack at the end just to top it all off was great.
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of say about Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory, they're like your quintessential pass rushers. You won't really know they're there for 3/4 of the game, and then they just come out and make big plays. They're good for 2 each every single game. And if you have 2 big plays at the edge position out of 2 different guys, if you have 4 big plays out of edge, those are game changers. Those are absolute game changers, drive stoppers, turnovers. So when you're getting 2 of them, at least 2, Randy Gregory got a big holding call against him early in the game too. That doesn't go down on the stats, but by God, it passes the eye test, and that's part of the reason he got that big contract.
He's been so damn good through 3 games. And I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, but a lot of Broncos country was hating that signing, and I loved it. He is what makes Ejiro Evero's defense go, because he's putting constant pressure on the quarterback or the pocket. And even if he's not getting to the quarterback with a sack or a pressure hurry, he's doing something with those long tentacles to disrupt the passer. I could not be happier with Randy Gregory.
Michaela, just making sure you're paying attention, Michaela. Sometimes y'all get lost in the chat, and I feel like it's just me and Zack just talking to each other here. So just making sure you're paying attention. She says, "Who is this Billy Turner you speak of?"
Who?
Somebody said that earlier tonight. I'm pretty sure. Appreciate you, Michaela.
I don't know. We don't know.
Let's see here. We got Jeremy Sean's in here. We did get to meet Jeremy in person, so good to see you out there, Jeremy. And then Yvonne coming in. He says, for me on offense, what I don't understand is we're not using more tight ends and the drops. Well, part of the problem, Yvonne, is your pass catching tight end is one of the guys dropping the ball.
Right.
Okuwebanam has not proven to be a reliable target. The other guys you have at tight end are either career journeymen or blocking tight ends or glorified tackles. The guy that I think we're starting to see that you brought in as tight end has a gimpy hammy. In Dulcich. And what will we get out of him this year, if anything? I'm starting to get a pretty good idea why they use such a high pick on him when there, would seem like there were other needs. They knew better than us, Zack.
I guess, yeah. It's like kind of looking like a redshirt year for Dulcich. Anything they get out of him, anything is going to be a bonus. Another interesting side note on Alberto, I think it was Mike Clay. I can't remember. So maybe PFF, but 100% of the time that Alberto was on the field yesterday, it was a pass play. So the Broncos are tipping their hand completely. When he's on the field, they're passing, they're not running, and that's because they can't trust Alberto as a blocker. It's a really weak point considering Dulcich's injury and Alberto not taking that next step forward with Russell Wilson.
It looks really strange because his PFF grade is 0 at pass blocking. So he didn't block anything. He did not block
literally anything.
He didn't even. I'm not even sure he cast a shadow. He wasn't even blocking the sunlight coming in. So, Mac Dog coming in. Mac, I hope you had a good time. It was great meeting you and your dad yesterday. And coming in from Lubbock, Texas. That's West Texas for y'all. I've made the cross country trip twice by car, and it's basically each day is get to Texas day 1, Texas is day 2, and then the rest of your trip is day 3. So West Texas is a big part of that state. And Mac, we're glad to have you here. It was great to meet you. So what's up, guys? It was awesome meeting you guys this weekend. You as well. That D was nasty. Hopefully our offense can catch up, but the game was awesome. I agree. All 3 points. Had a great time meeting everybody. The D was nasty, and the offense has to. I don't know if they're going to catch up, but if they can get to adequate, 20, 24 points a game on average, you're going to be really, really tough to beat.
Yeah, Mac, you were awesome yesterday. Thank you for coming out. Your dad is super cool as well. When the Broncos offense gets going, they're not going to lose pretty or win ugly. They're going to win pretty. They're going to win games going away, especially against the weaker teams like the Jets, for example. It's going to be tough against Kansas City still, those kind of teams. But once this offense finds its rhythm, you're not going to have these 1-point victories, nail-biting victories. They're going to be a fun but scary team for the rest of the NFL.
And one of the reasons you're able to have some flexibility on other sides is because of this guy right here, over here. that Plum Bob comes in. He says, no catches allowed by PS2. And whenever they did try to go his way, it was like, PS2 was like, are you kidding? Come on. Pat Surtain had his guy blanketed all night, forcing him to go other directions. You could tell Garoppolo did not have the confidence that he could throw it in a tight enough window to beat Surtain. He wanted to go somewhere else. And if I've got one of your receivers locked up with one guy, that means I got six defensive defenders that I can at least use to cover to the other 3 or 4 guys in the patterns and the routes.
It's really a credit to PS2, who's a phenomenal talent. He set it and forget it in terms of cornerback. He's going to be an all-pro perennial stud. But 3 weeks, 3 number 1 wide receivers, DK Metcalf, Brandon Cooks, and Deebo Samuel, goose eggs for receiving touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk scored, but I think that was on Ronald Darby, not on PS2. He is as lockdown gets, but the rest of the secondary, even without Simmons, is really stepping up.
Clayton coming in with some stars. Says, evening, guys. Smash that like button and share. Man, how about our special teams? What do you think won the game for us, defense or our special teams? They worked hand in hand. Because the special teams would pin them in deep and defense would hold them there, or maybe a first down. So it was a complete effort for shutting down the San Francisco 49ers. And even on when they didn't get that touchback called back on the reversal, the Broncos were able to get out from the shadow of their own goalposts and move the ball and flip the field. So again, one of those things where, there are a lot of 3 and outs, but when they had to get yardage and they had to get points, for the most part, they did. Cody coming in blue, super. He says, is Denver a top 5 defense in the NFL? I think so. I haven't watched the entire NFL just yet, but it feels like you'd be hard pressed not to be a top 5 defense right now in the NFL. So, if you look at yards and points, I'm pretty sure they're going to be right in there. And then you look at the newfangled with all the alphabet soup of analytics, they're probably going to be, DVOA and all that kind of stuff, adjusted DVOA, DOV minus, DOV plus, OPS, that's baseball. They're going to look good. What's the eye test tell you? Again, that's what I said about the top 5, the points last year. You're number 3 in the NFL. What's your gut feeling about this defense? Is this a defense you can trust? Hell yes, it is. They're fun to watch, and they're getting it done.
That's why I like you, Scott. We think the same, very pragmatic. I don't care what PFF has to say, DVOA, Football Outsiders, Insiders, whatever. I know what my eyes tell me. And I'd be hard-pressed to find 4 better defenses right now than the Denver Broncos, considering how they're playing. They were top 10 in like 8 categories entering week 3. And it's not an aberration. It's not a mirage. It's not smoke. It's legitimate. Ejiro Evero is cooking up something special with the Broncos. And maybe Philadelphia right now is better. I love what Jonathan Gannon's doing over there with them, but in terms of Evero being a first-time coordinator, missing some crucial components to his defense, and now DJ Jones as well, bang-up job. Hell of a job.
Get better. Unsung hero. There's another one for you. Mike Purcell. When Mike Purcell came in, he was moving piles. He wasn't just holding the line. He was driving it backwards. He was making plays out there. Mike Purcell came in. We talked about the depth of your front 3. With Mike Purcell as one of those guys coming in to spell DJ Jones, now your depth looks pretty good. As a starter, Purcell was a little maybe. But as a backup, he's pretty damn good. And he played really, really well. 52%, I think. Just a shade over 50% of the defensive snaps yesterday. And when he was in there, he was making plays. So another one of those unsung heroes from yesterday's win. And a sung hero, again, is Christy coming in. KR coming in orange. So hope you all had a great meet and greet. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you this time. Always fun to be in the stadium for a dub. Definitely miss seeing you all this year. Perhaps next time, go Broncos.
Yeah, I think a lot of people at the meet and greet, Chris, you can attest that it was not as good without you in attendance like last year. And some of your merchandise definitely sold, though. Guys, if you want to check it out, go to huddleuppod.com. Christy designed the T-shirt for the female user base. Really popular, really cool design. But Christy, we love you. You are a legend. And next time, for sure.
Yeah, come to England. I'm going. That's the next Broncos game I'm going to in a month. I'm going, man, break up the Jags. Holy cow. The
I like the
Jaguars
Jags and that what they did yesterday.
the
I'm a
Jaguars are
fan.
on fire. That
Yeah.
doesn't look like a win anymore. That looks like a good Lord.
Well, Chargers lost half their team yesterday, but I'll take it.
But they beat the Colts, the pants off the Colts 24-0. They turn around and beat the Chargers, spanked them. It was 20-point win. So that was, again, I don't care. If you're not winning those kind of games, you are one of those teams. The Jaguars have stepped up into a team to be reckoned with this year.
Almost like coaching
an
matters,
automatic
right?
dub.
Coaching, baby.
Oh, $500 million in free agents and some top 5 picks don't hurt either.
It's fair. We'll agree.
But yeah, Peterson can coach. We knew that one. Venom Seeker coming in blue says yesterday was truly perfect day. Thanks, Chiefs and Raiders. I can't help but it just the wastefulness of resources and money and these guys getting the same chances over and over again sometimes makes me mad because frankly I'm jealous. I'm a little jealous that Josh McDaniels and Steve Sarkisian keep failing up. So Josh McDaniels, if you don't know Steve Sarkisian, he has failed his way up into the University of Texas job, and he's at best a 500 guy. I don't have to tell you who Josh McDaniels is, yet people still hire these guys, and they're like, yes, okay, we've got it, the missing ingredients. Come on, man. No. So Venom Seeker, you got it, man. It was a really good day. My kids went 3-0 while I wasn't there, so a couple of softball games and a soccer game. It was a pretty solid weekend.
I can tell you what McDaniels is. He's a loser, and he'll always be a loser, at least as a head coach in the NFL. But Venom Seeker, I hope you saw my tweet. We were talking about that yesterday at the meet and greet. Perfect day. Kansas City loses, LA loses, Vegas loses, Broncos win. What more could you ask for? Amazing Sunday.
David Wilder coming in and with some stars. Thank you, David. Appreciate the support over on Facebook. As always, I'm trying to scroll down and keep up. And Jeremy Sean agreed with you on this one. He says K1 was my surprise player, and he didn't disappoint. No, and again, I put him in my notes for his run defense as much as anything because that was one of the big questions we had: is can you stop the run when you need to? Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could.
And you kind of have to. You want to play effective slot cornerback in the NFL. Considering like what they have to do. You mentioned almost playing edge from that position, Scott, and that's what Evero calls on K1 to be. And Bryce Callahan, to his credit, he's playing good ball for the Chargers right now. But who they replaced him with is like a Callahan clone. He's so sticky in coverage, and he's always coming up with that big pass breakup or a big run stop.
All right, Mac Dog, and this is the scary part. Kind of like the first one. Is the first game of the year is like, okay, losses count the same in the standings, but some hurt more than others. I made the comment yesterday, Zach, though, that people are starting to like turn the Seattle Seahawks win against Denver into a punchline. It's like, hey, you guys suck, but hey, you got the Rust Bowl. Good for you. But you still suck. Mac Dog comes in. We're not losing to Josh McDaniels next week. I can't wait for Chubb and Gregory to crush Carr. Get a car crusher. That should be like a bookend of the car crusher with, someone with better graphic design skills than I do should put him between those two as a crusher and a junkyard. The car crusher. That's who these two are. I like it.
It's really a pivotal game for McDaniels. I read that him and Mark Davis had a closed-door meeting before he took the press conference yesterday, McDaniels. So it's a rocky start through 3 weeks, but they're going to be desperate. Buyout?
10 million, 12 million, 20 million. I mean, fire me. I watched, if any of you had the misfortune to watch Missouri and the Auburn Tigers, I called that the buyout bowl. They were both playing like they wanted to be fired. Fire me. Give me my payout so I can go do something else. So that's the thing of it. That's like I said, I'm jealous, Zach. Wouldn't you like to be that incompetent and get a 8-figure payout? Fire me.
So I want to be Vic Fangio pretty much. That's my life's aspiration to be him. But I don't think they're going to fire him. Obviously, it's a little overreaction to think that, but they're still paying John Gruden, what, $60 million, $50 million? Did they get out of that deal because of what happened? I don't know. But just interesting that things are already collapsing around McDaniels. It seems like he's a toxic figure as a head coach, but they are going to be hungry. They're going to be scrapping. They're going to do everything they can to save their season with the W, and the Broncos have to be prepared to meet that challenge. I cannot wait, though. PS2 versus Devontae Adams. That is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, we'll see how that matches up. I would move Devontae Adams in so many places that you're going to have to mix up your coverages on him. Just be prepared. Who else played a little bit like that for the Broncos was Randy Gregory. I saw him lined up in 3 or 4 different spots. Between, almost lined up like a walk up inside linebacker. Where he was a stand up in between the 3-4 and coming in through, the AB gaps there in the middle of the defense or way out wide. But Devontae Adams, again, it's going to take a team effort to slow him down. But if you can do it to Deebo Samuel, well, Devontae Adams might be a little bit tougher, but they'll be a wounded animal for sure. And we'll find out. I said last year about week 5, this team is done. They have given up on this coach. We'll find out. Do they still want to play for this guy, or can they see the writing on the wall? Like, we'll just ride out this year and we'll have a new guy next year.
I would keep PS2 shadowing Devontae. The matchup that scares me is Hunter Renfrow versus Darby, or Darren Waller versus any Broncos inside linebacker. If I have a feeling they can hold down, relatively speaking, Devontae Adams. It's the other players on that offense if Carr gets time. That's the key here. We'll talk about it as the week goes on. Obviously, it's Victory Monday. It's the aftermath, but they have to get to Carr. They cannot allow him to sit back there and pick his spots.
Another unsung hero. I'm going through my notes here real quick. They didn't throw a pass in a red zone. That was a good one. I already mentioned Garrett Bowles burying his guy on that play that got the touchdown. That one route you were talking about where Jewell was matched up on Samuel, he was lined up as a shotgun running back, and that was a wheel route. So you're okay there, sort of. But by God, Jewell, you got to get outside him and jam him. You cannot give him a free release. You've got to get your hands on him before he gets past that 5 yards, or you are dead. But that was a good scheme, and that's why Deebo Samuel and guys like him and Cordero Patterson are so valuable now. It's because you can just hand it to him as a running back. It's not an automatic pass play, but it was he was the lone back in a shotgun and ran a wheel, which is the linebacker's coverage. But Jewell kind of broke down instead of getting outside and just bumping him. Man, if he had just gotten anything on him, that would have solved that. But ifs and buts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, inside linebackers get beat. It happens. Deebo Samuel, it makes a lot of linebackers look silly, but it's not that Jewell gets beat or Singleton gets beat. It's that they get whipped. They get beat so badly where their opposition is running 5-6 yards wide open down the field. It's like, is there anybody else in the Broncos defense who could have covered Deebo on that play? Who could have at least bracketed Deebo or chipped him or done something off the line? Josie Jewell, not the answer.
Yeah, that was, again, that was a matchup problem. That was just the way that play happened to work. And luckily for the Broncos, it didn't go any farther than it did. The big play of the game, the final play, came down to PJ Locke, and we're seeing that punch come in a lot more often these days. But I had noticed PJ Locke earlier on punt coverage. Patrick is another one I see with Patrick. And then Boone and PJ Locke were playing really good special teams. And it's almost like, okay, you ate your vegetables. Now you can have the main course and some dessert and get out there and go make a play on the field. And PJ Locke did too. So another one of my unsung heroes. Obviously, he forced the big fumble, but I felt like he earned that with his really good special teams play.
Yeah, I'll eat some crow on PJ, the other Locke on the Broncos roster for sure, the one we don't hate. I was a fan of Jamar Johnson. I was kind of mad the Broncos got rid of him, but I'm seeing why they value Locke and why 2 coaching staffs now have valued PJ Locke. Not only what he does on special teams, but he's not too terrible on defense as a safety. He holds his own out there next to Kareem Jackson, who's more of a dinosaur than a comparable counterpart. So I'm impressed by PJ for sure.
All right, so I feel like some of the glow of the win has kind of papered over some of the cracks on this team. What still concerns you as we're about to get out of here? We're at 50 minutes in. We touched on it a little bit, but our audience kind of comes in and out a lot. So, what still concerns you moving forward after 3 weeks?
We mentioned it. We agree about it. We have agreed about it, is the O-line. It's not one player or the other. It's pretty much everyone, including Garrett Bowles now. He's going to slip up, but we don't want Garrett Holds to come back. Cam Fleming to me is so terrible. Glasgow at right guard or a Gimpy Miners is scary. Cushenberry, like you mentioned, Scott, he can get bullied as well. Reisner gets bullied as well. He was decimated. I can't recall the play, but he was owned completely. It's the offensive line. Russell Wilson is still too hurried in the pocket. He doesn't have much opportunity to step up and really survey the field. And when he does, he fires strikes. Funny how that works. Also, the run defense. A little leaky in preseason. I did not like the fact that Jeff Wilson went off for, I think, 6 yards a carry, 5 and change a carry. He had 75 yards. So got to fix those two things. I understand DJ Jones going out hurt them, but those two concerns, I think, are still evident.
Yeah, the offensive line, it's one thing if you're getting beat around the edge or you can step in, but they're collapsing the pocket on him.
Right.
Russ, we know, isn't all that big. You want to keep him in there as a defense. They're not just keeping him in there, they're squeezing it shut, and he's got nowhere to go on that. There's a throw here or there that Russell Wilson missed, but the poor offense wasn't all on him, for goodness sakes. Aaron Dickerson came in earlier today. Sorry I missed this, Aaron. He says, is Nick Bonito a wasted second round pick? Why didn't we bolster up our offensive line instead?
Don't know.
Insurance, maybe. You might not have Bradley Chubb next year. You spent a bunch of money on a guy who may or may not have been as good as he is. We're 3 weeks in, and if you get 17 weeks of Randy Gregory, you got a freaking steal.
Yeah.
But that was a question going in. Nick Bonito was kind of a developmental type pick where he's got a lot of tools. And again, yeah, he was a second round pick. I get it. But as an edge guy getting drafted 64th, for comparisons, there's guys that are drafted around him in a similar position that they've been healthy scratches. They have been inactive. D'Angelo Malone down in Atlanta is one of those guys. Nick Bonito's played about as much as him. D'Angelo Malone was a third rounder. He's only taken like 7 picks later. That's just, you're not getting the finished product at 64. Just because he was your first pick doesn't necessarily mean he was a super high pick. That said, I did keep an eye on him when he came in, and I thought he did a much better job of setting the edge, Zach. He didn't play a ton, but I did think he did a better job of setting the edge when he was out there.
At least he was active. He wasn't a healthy scratch. And it wasn't a good look for George Payton when Dulcich, they took in the 3rd round, he's on IR. Nick Bonito was a healthy scratch. That's your first 2 draft picks in a draft that you didn't have a ton of high round capital in. I don't think Bonito is a wasted pick or a bust. That's way too knee-jerk. I saw some comparisons to Shane Ray, and that was my concern initially, but based on the small subject size of Nick Bonito, the preseason finale, for example, when he gets on point, he can be like a Baron Browning, a dependable for right now backup edge rusher. And if that's your number 4 guy, Nick Bonito, you're in a pretty good spot. And all he needs is the reps. He was never like Dulcich. They were never made for this year primarily. For 2022. That's for 23 and beyond. And I think looking back on it a few years from now, we're going to be like, you know what? They were pretty good draft picks.
Would you spend some money on a tight end in free agency next year?
Oh, next, I don't know who's a free agent. Depends.
Yeah, I mean, just think that if there's, I think it's still a position that needs to be addressed. We'll see. We'll see how good Dulcich ends up looking. But right now, Okwuegbunam is not stepping up and seizing his opportunity, and he's not the only one. As Cody Dubb comes in, Blue Super, he says the drops need cleaned up. Yeah, they do. Those are spreading like a freaking virus around there. There's a rash going around of drops. Sutton has gotten them a couple times. Okwuegbunam, Judy, Boone. It's gotten everybody at this point, and you're right. It does need to be cleaned up, Cody. That's a good shout on things that might worry you a little bit. Robert Otteson, Melvin Gordon is never going to stop fumbling. Why the hell are we handing him the ball at the goal line? Love from Nevada. He has a good nose for it. He scores touchdowns. The old line, the old Buddy Ryan line about Chris Carter. All he does is catch touchdown passes. Well, that's not all he does. It's not all he does is score touchdowns. He also fumbles. And that's a negative, and that's a big negative. And I'm with you all at this. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him getting the ball in the backfield in crucial situations. What else you got? You're paying. I went and did all the numbers, and there was only like 10 number twos in the entire league that make more money than Mike Boone. That's it. And there was like 7 teams that didn't have a running back that made as much as Mike Boone, period. So basically, he's in the top 40 paid running backs in the entire NFL. Give him the ball. Let's see what he can do without putting it on the ground. If you want to spell Pookie. On the Brown Panda coming in yellow. If the offense doesn't improve, but the defense continues to play lights out, do we fire Hackett and promote Ejiro Evero? Way too soon for that type of talk. If this was year 3 and you're losing and you're 1-2 and the defense is starting to yap and gripe, then you talk about Evero might be an ideal interim, and then see how he goes from there. Zach?
Plus, if the defense is playing lights out, chances are you're going to either be competitive or winning some of those games as well. And if you're winning, you're not going to fire Hackett no matter how bad the offense is. But he has to improve. But if you look at the play calling, I like a lot of what Hackett and Justin Outen bring to the table. And maybe it's just recency bias because we had to watch Pat Shurmur for a couple years, but it's very up-tempo offense when Russ gets time, which is so rare. The ball is moved vertically down the field, not horizontally. They're not practicing incompletions in Dove Valley anymore. It can be explosive with Cortland Sutton, that connection with Russell Wilson. So no, not yet.
Again, not this year. Too soon for that. But will Evero get a chance at a head coaching position? Yeah,
if he keeps it up. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he will. And there was a quote yesterday. This one actually, I think this was yesterday. Bradley Chump coming in, talking about on being together as a team and trusting one another. He says he finished it off by saying, we're just staying together as a team and as a unit. That's what we preach. Team first has been working for us. You can just see the leadership this defense has, along with the grit and willingness to win. Honestly, that hasn't been here for a while. I feel like we're just getting our swagger back.
Shots fired.
Yeah. Bang, bang, bang. So that one caught my attention. That hasn't been here for a while. And it hasn't. I can't say for a while. What I didn't see last year was someone willing to make a play. It was a bunch of guys that were afraid to get beat. And you cannot coach like that. Not professionals, not kids, not anybody. You've got to turn them loose and let them play free, and they will reward you for it. Yeah, you're going to have a busted coverage and someone get behind you and give up a big play. So what, man? What do you have? 3 turnovers, 4 turnovers yesterday, some sacks. I mean, it's more fun. Get these guys that want to play for you like this. And like you said, honestly, we haven't had that for a while. Big quote for me.
You mentioned that there were no players that stepped up and made a play. We didn't see that. We also see, like you hit on as well, coaches coaching the players to make a play. It was bend but don't break, play not to lose. Let's win every game 10-9. That's not the modern day football. That's not how it goes anymore. And that's why Vic Fangio's scheme, as lauded as it was a little outdated for what the Broncos want to do. And like you said, I'd rather play aggressive and play to win and maybe give up that busted play or a big gainer or a touchdown than consistently be conservative and passive and play not to lose. I just don't like that brand of football, and I'm so happy the Broncos have gone away from that.
There's a comment I wanted to bring up from David Wilder. David, I can't find it anymore. Appreciate the stars. We saw that come in, but I didn't see. It says, I forgot to put the stars with my comment. I think he forgot to comment with the stars. I saw the stars, so we owe you one. We do. We owe you one. But Zach, I think it's about time for us to get on out of here tonight. And yes, you know who is in here? One of our many Hawaii friends, Patrick, coming in. Zach, you might want to give Patrick your email address. Because Zach listens to our show, Patrick, and he's a little jealous of the coffee hookup, our coffee friend. So Zach, you might want to give Patrick your email address.
Patrick, I'll drink it if you want to send it out, man. I just saw Scott had the coffee cup. I want that. I'm jealous of that, but the coffee looks and from what I hear sounds amazing. So I'm willing to drink it if you want to send it, but we appreciate your support regardless. Hopefully we'll see you more in the nighttime too.
So hit him up on Twitter. Zach's not hard to find. On that note, why don't you get us on out of here? I needed a shot of adrenaline to get going because I tell you what, my 4 a.m. wake up call in Denver, it's been a long day. it's been a 20-hour day yesterday, and I was like, okay, I gotta go live. Here we go. But you know what? Getting out here, getting going. It's like a brisk run in the morning. Sometimes you don't feel like doing it, but once you do, you're glad you're here. So thanks everybody. Thanks Broncos country for giving me a lift.
Exactly. We love doing it, and it's so fun, and we wouldn't trade it in for anything in the world. And thank you for everyone who came out to the meet and greet yesterday. It was a load of fun, preceding a major Broncos very exciting victory. We hope to do it again next year, even bigger and even better. But it was really fun in the interim. We're gonna get out of here for tonight. I can't find the banner for the podcast. You know where to find it though, at the MHH Pod, and also the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle. Scott on Twitter at Scout Kennedy. Note the Scout, not Scott there. And at Kelberman NFL for myself. If you guys want some merch that neither of us are wearing right now, go to huddleuppod.com. Christy's design is on there. We have some coffee cups like you see right there, BFB. Everything you could want or need heading into fall, whenever, huddleuppod.com. Check it out. And facebook.com/milehighhuddlepod. Like that page. Follow along with that page. And if you haven't, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest and the deacon, as you see right there, a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that merch each and every month. But as you see ticking below you, please sub, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you. Scott, last word, my man.
Last word. We'll keep Nick away from the games. I'll be back. I'm undefeated, Broncos country. Thanks for having me out. Thanks for embracing me into the Mile High Huddle family. I've had a blast.
Yeah, and the MHH, we're 2-0, by the way, with the MHH tailgates, going on. So we'll make it 3-0 next year. We had a load of fun. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We'll see you Thursday. We have BFB tomorrow, and then building the Broncos tomorrow night, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And then
we double dip tomorrow again.
Beckoning the Broncos, Mile High Insiders, Thursdays, BFB, and then we're back on with the MHH pod. Have a great start to your week. Take care, and as always, there you go. Go Broncos.